The old wooden door slammed shut behind her without any wind in sight as Mia stepped into the Airbnb alone with only her suitcase and the kind of silence that buzzed in her ears. It was supposed to be a weekend, escape, a solo trip to recover from a bad breakup and a breakdown at work, but something about the house made her freeze at the threshold. Walls breathed. It was not something she could explain in words, but as soon as she entered, it felt like the house exhaled as if it knew her, as if it had been waiting. The owner had messaged her that he would leave the keys under the mat, and sure enough they were there, but the door had already been unlocked. The lock was twisted slightly, as if someone had forced it open, and yet nothing looked stolen. The furniture stood neat, the kitchen untouched, the air cold and stale, and still she ignored the first warning. She left her bags near the couch and wandered around taking pictures for Instagram, trying to calm the unease clinging to her spine. Every step felt like walking into thicker shadows, especially when she passed the second-floor hallway, where a locked door stood alone with rust creeping down its handle. A sign hung crookedly on it. "Do not open." She stared at it for a few seconds too long, her hand itching to touch it. But the air around that room felt heavier, colder, like something behind it was leaning close against the other side of the wood, listening, breathing. Waiting downstairs, her phone buzzed. It was the host. "Just checking in, hope you arrived safely. Let me know if you need anything." Mia typed back, "All good, thanks," but hesitated, then added, "Just curious about the locked room upstairs." The reply came instantly, "Please do not go near that room. It is not safe." Chill in her bones turned sharper. She reread the message 5 times, then locked her phone and tried to distract herself with tea and a movie. But the sound system glitched over and over. Every few minutes static would hiss through the speakers, and behind it she heard whispers, not loud enough to understand, not human enough to ignore. Around midnight, as the rain began to tap on the roof, she decided to sleep upstairs. Despite the unease, she chose the room farthest from the locked door. But that did not help. At 1:13 a.m., she woke up freezing. The windows were shut, the heater off, and her blanket was on the floor. She reached to grab it when she heard Ida knock. 3 slow, soft knocks from the locked room across the hallway. Mia sat frozen, her breath stuck in her throat. She waited. Maybe it was the pipes, maybe wind. But then again, 3 more knocks, louder this time. She grabbed her phone with shaking fingers and recorded a voice note saying the time and what she heard, just in case something happened. Her voice trembled, but she whispered into the mic, "I think someone is in that room. I heard knocking. If I disappear, tell the police." Just then a shadow passed under her door. Not a person, not an animal, something with elongated limbs, something that scraped its fingers against the wood and paused as if listening. Mia sat with her back to the wall, too scared to cry, too terrified to move. And then the knocking came again, but this time from inside her closet. Her scream never came out, only a shallow breath as she backed away, crawling across the bed, clutching her phone. She reached the door, twisted the knob. It was locked. She had not locked it. Something had from outside. Then the closet creaked open, and her phone slipped from her hand, landing with the screen up just enough light to see a face, pale eyes, sunken mouth, hanging unnaturally wide, skin stitched at the jaw. It crawled out slowly, not walking, dragging its limbs like a broken doll, and whispered the word, "Stay." Mia blacked out when she woke up. It was morning. The closet was closed, the door was unlocked, and her phone was dead. But on her arm, carved in shallow letters, were the words, "One night is not enough." She ran downstairs, packed her things, and opened the front door. But the road outside was not the one she arrived on. It was a long, endless path covered in fog and silence. And when she turned around, the house was no longer there, only the locked door standing alone in the middle of an empty field. And from behind it she heard her own voice calling. Mia stood frozen in the field where the house had vanished. Only the door remained upright in the grass, creaking softly with no wind. Her skin felt too tight on her bones, her heartbeat too loud in the stillness around her. She reached toward the door, trembling, unable to understand how she got here. She had only wanted to leave. She had packed her bags. She remembered grabbing her keys She remembered opening the door to leave, but she was here, not in the house, not on the road, just here. She turned back, trying to walk away, but her legs barely moved, as if the ground pulled against her. Every step dragged, like walking through wet sand. Her breath grew shallow, the fog thickened, pressing against her eyes, and then she heard it again, her own voice, faint, echoing from behind the door, whispering the same words over and over again. "Please let me out." She stepped back, knees weak, throat dry, no longer able to scream. Door began to open slowly, silently, and from behind it came darkness so thick it crawled across the field like ink spilling across paper. The air shifted, everything smelled of rust and earth and burnt hair. A hand appeared first, thin, pale, long fingers tipped with black nails curling against the frame, then another. It pulled itself through the thing, wore her face. Not exactly it was her, if she had drowned and decayed and been stitched back together by something that had never seen a human before. Its mouth opened wide, no sound came out, only a breath, cold and sharp, that sliced through her chest. It pointed behind her. Mia turned around, and the field was gone again, replaced by the house. The same Airbnb, but darker, as if soaked in shadows. She was back inside the living room, her suitcase where she had first left it. Same couch, the same broken silence. She ran to the door, tried to open it, but it was sealed solid, like part of the wall. She tried the windows, they showed nothing but pitch black, no trees, no road, no sky, just black. Mia stumbled upstairs, and the hallway was longer now, stretching endlessly with more doors than before, all of them slightly open, except the one at the end. Locked room, still shut, still humming, like something inside was breathing fast and deep, waiting for her to step closer. But this time a trail of bloody footprints led to its small bare feet, soaked in red, stopping right at the base of the door. Sign was gone, no more warning, no more do not open. Now the door itself pulsed like a heartbeat, like the house was alive and sick and desperate. She turned to run back, but behind her all the doors were now wide open, and each room had something inside. She could not see them fully, just parts. A twisted arm reaching from under a beta face, half hidden behind a curtain, grinning without eyes. A figure hanging upside down from the ceiling, slowly turning like a mobile. She closed her eyes and ran into one of the rooms, slammed the door behind her, and held the knob tight. Then the knocking came again, from the walls, from the floor, from the ceiling. It came from everywhere. The room went quiet then, and a voice broke through, soft, sad, familiar. It was her father. He had died last year, but his voice called her now, as if he were sitting right beside her, whispering, "Why did you leave?" Mesh covered her ears, but the voice crawled through her mind, tearing at her memories, mixing pain with fear, with guilt, until she screamed back, "I did not leave you. I could not save you." Then silence. She opened her eyes, and the room had changed. It was now her childhood bedroom, the same posters, the same bed sheets, the same broken lamp she had thrown during her worst night, the night her father died. She walked forward, touched the lamp, and it flickered to life behind her. The closet door creaked open, and inside stood the same figure from last night, her own face again. But this time it held something in its hand, a photo of her and her father smiling before everything went wrong. Figure spoke in her voice, but deeper, cracked with age. "Stay here with us." Mia stepped back, shaking her head, her heart pounding with terror and sorrow, both blurring together. "No," she whispered, and the walls screamed. All the doors burst open at once, all the lights died, and the only thing she could hear was her own name being shouted from every direction. The house was folding in around her, twisting, shrinking, growing teeth in its windows and hands in its walls. Mia fell to the floor, gripping the photo, still warm from the figure's hand. And then everything stopped. She was in bed. Morning light poured through the window, birds chirped outside, everything normal. Her suitcase still packed, the door wide open, but the photo was still in her hand, and the locked door upstairs was open, just a crack. Mia stared at the cracked door at the end of the hallway. Her legs refused to move, but her eyes stayed locked on that sliver of darkness beyond it, a place that had been sealed shut, a place something had warned her about, a place that had already whispered her name. She clutched the photo tighter, her hand trembling, the smiling faces of her and her father. now smeared as if something had dragged its fingers across the image. Air outside was still bright, but inside the house shadows slid across the walls, even though nothing moved, no trees. No cars, no clouds, just that door slightly open, inviting Mia step forward. Slowly, each footstep echoing too loud, as if the house were empty of sound, waiting for hers to fill the void. The hallway stretched longer than before, her breath shorter, the air denser, the lights flickered and dimmed the closer she got. She reached the door and placed her hand against it. The wood felt wet, cold, like skin, like something alive. She pushed it open, inch by inch, and the darkness inside welcomed her. No furniture, no windows, only a single chair in the middle of the room, and someone sitting in it. Mia could not tell what it was. Its back was turned to her, its arms hung limp, its head low, long black strands of hair hiding its face. The room smelled like wet soil and old blood, like something rotting beneath the floor. She tried to speak, but her voice caught her throat, closing around fear. The thing in the chair lifted its head slightly and turned. It was her again, only this version looked realer. Her same clothes, her same shoes, her same photo clenched in its fist, but its eyes were black pits, no light, no reflection. Just endless dark. She whispered, "Who are you?" It smiled and stood up, moving with the broken grace of something trying to be human, but not quite knowing how. It stepped forward, and the door slammed shut behind Mia, trapping her inside the room with it. "You left him," it said with her voice. "You let him die. You left yourself too." She shook her head, tears rising, panic crushing her chest. "No, I did not want to lose him. I did not want any of this." Figure stepped closer, its face inches from hers, and spoke again. "Then why did you run?" It touched her forehead, and in an instant, everything around her shifted. She was no longer in the room. She was back at the hospital, the night her father died. Alarms blaring, nurses running, her younger self standing at the door, refusing to go in, refusing to say goodbye. He had called for her. Once, just once, and she had not answered because she had been afraid. Now she stood in that memory, and the ghost, her own twisted reflection, leaned against the wall watching her. "This is where you broke," the voice said, "and that is why we found you." Mia collapsed to her knees, screaming into her own past, wanting to grab her younger self, wanting to run away, but knowing it would not change. Memory bled into the Airbnb again, the room spinning, the ghost still standing over her, now holding the photo close to its chest. "You are not ready to leave," it said. "Not until you understand, not until you choose." What? Mia gasped. The ghost smiled and pointed to the wall behind her. It was no longer a wall, it was a mirror. And in that mirror she saw herself, but not the version she remembered. This version was stronger, eyes tired but clear, heart bruised but beating. She reached out, and the mirror cracked beneath her fingers. "You have one more night," the ghost said. "One," and then it vanished. The room opened up again, and she stumbled out into the hallway, her breath shallow, her vision blurry. The sun had vanished again. The lights flickered, and behind every door she heard whispers, louder, now calling her name over and over with different voices, some crying, some screaming, some laughing. She ran downstairs, but the staircase stretched forever. With each step she took, the house bent and groaned, like it hated her presence, like it wanted her gone. But as she reached the bottom, something new appeared, a trapdoor in the living room floor, wide open, with a rope ladder leading down into blackness. It had not been there before, and from its depths came her father's voice again, this time softer. "Please, just one more goodbye." Mia took one last breath and stepped onto the ladder, not knowing where it would take her, but knowing she could not leave until she did. Mia descended slowly into the dark, her hands trembling as they gripped the rope ladder. The air grew colder with every step. The silence below felt thick, like it was pressing against her skin. Her breath echoed around her louder than it should have been. Walls of the space below were stone, damp and narrow, like an old cellar, but there was no smell of earth, only something bitter, something like burned wood and grief. She reached the floor and turned around. The trapdoor above her vanished, the rope gone, the light too. A flickering bulb sparked to life above her, swinging gently as if touched by unseen hands. She was in a tunnel, a long narrow hallway of stone lined with old wooden doors on each side. each one closed, but every door had a name scratched into it. She moved closer to the first door, her own name carved deep into the wood. Her fingers reached for the handle, but it burned her skin like metal and fire. She jerked back, heart racing. From behind the door, she heard a whisper, her own voice. "Let me out." She stepped back, shaking, then looked at the second door. This one said, Sarah, her childhood friend, the one who vanished years ago without a trace. She had not thought of Sarah in so long. The night Sarah disappeared, she remembered they had fought over something stupid, and Sarah had run off into the woods. Mia had never gone after her. The door to Sarah's room rattled now, whispering her name in a slow chant, Mia, Mia, Mia. The sound crawled into her ears, filling her with the guilt she had buried for years. She ran down the hallway, past door after door, each one more familiar, more painful than the last, all with names of people she had lost or left behind. Then one door stood alone at the end, larger, darker, no name, only a symbol-y circle with a line through it. It pulsed gently as if breathing. She stepped forward, drawn by something deeper than fear. The door opened before she touched it. Inside was a room bathed in red light. Walls covered in mirrors, all showing different versions of her, one crying, one screaming, one smiling with blood on her hands. In the center of the room stood the chair again. This time her father sat in it, or something, wearing his shape, his head lifted slowly, eyes glassy, skin too pale, lips barely moving. "You left me here, you never came back." Mia's legs gave way, and she dropped to her knees, tears falling fast. He was scared. "I did not know what to say. I was not strong enough," she whispered. He stood and walked toward her, his movements slow, unnatural. "You never said goodbye. You locked that door and threw away the key, and now you have to find it again." He reached into his chest and pulled out something small, a rusted old key, soaked in something dark. And what he placed it in her palm, his eyes now soft. "Use it, set them all free." The lights died again, and when they returned, she was back in the tunnel, the key in her hand, the doors silent. She walked to the first door with her name and pushed the key. And it turned with a loud crack, and the door burst open. She saw herself inside, screaming, arms bound, eyes wild. Her reflection stepped out, looked at her, then vanished. The door closed behind it, and the stone crumbled away. She moved to Sarah's door, used the same key again. This time she saw a forest, saw Sarah calling her name, crying for help, saw herself walking away. She ran into the memory, screaming for Sarah, but it was too late. The image faded, and Sarah stood before her, pale, quiet, her lips moved. "You came too late, but thank you." Then she too vanished. Mia opened door after door, each one releasing a piece of her guilt, a fragment of her trauma. Each ghost stepping out into the hallway, nodding, whispering something she barely heard, until all doors were gone. Only the tunnel remained, now empty, now silent. But she was not alone. Figure in the mirror, her twisted self, stood before her, now whole. "You faced it all, now choose. Stay with them or return alone." Mia closed her eyes, clutched the photo in her pocket, the one of her and her father, the one that still pulsed with warmth. "I want to go back." The figure nodded, then go, and everything shattered. She woke up gasping in the bed of the Airbnb, sunlight pouring through the window, her suitcase packed, her phone ringing. It was morning for real. Her father's photo lay on the nightstand, whole and clean, and the locked door upstairs was gone, not open, just gone. Mia stood in the same hallway, staring at the wall where the locked door once stood. Only now there was nothing, not even a mark, not even a shadow. The wood smooth and cold beneath her fingers, as if the door had never been there. But she remembered everything, every whisper, every scream, every version of herself, and every room she had unlocked downstairs. The sun streamed through the windows, birdsong fluttered through the air. Her phone sat on the table, fully charged. No missed calls, no strange messages, as if the night before had been a nightmare, folded away by daylight. But she knew it was not. The key was still in her pocket. She gripped it tightly and took one slow breath, then stepped outside. The wind kissed her face for the first time in what felt like years. The trees were green again, the sky wide and blue. She walked to her car, unlocked it, slid behind the wheel, and looked at the Airbnb one last time. The house stood still and perfect. Clean porch, quiet windows shining, but she knew it watched her. She started the engine and drove mile after mile of road, unwinding beneath her tires like a ribbon, pulling her away from everything she had faced. The voices no longer whispered, the mirrors no longer showed false faces. She was alone, now free, or so she believed. That night in her apartment, she unpacked slowly, carefully, each item touched. With relief, she placed the photo of her father on the shelf, lit a candle in front of it, and whispered, "I am sorry." The flame flickered but held steady. Her phone rang, and she almost did not answer, but it was her best friend checking in. She laughed. She cried. She told only parts of the truth, because the full truth would sound like madness. She slept early, peacefully, until 3:15 in the morning, when a knock echoed through her hallway. Slow knock. She froze under her blanket. The room cold, her breath shallow. The knocks came again. She rose slowly, heart pounding, and stepped toward the door. But the knocking was not from the front door. It was from her bedroom closet. She backed away, trembling. Her foot hit something on the floor. A photo. She picked it up. It was the same photo of her and her father, but this one was burned around the edges, and behind it, a message was written. "You left a door open." She spun toward the closet, and this time the door was already ajar. From inside, something crawled out. Not her reflection, not her guilt, but something else, something stitched from all the voices she had tried to forget. Its body was twisted, its eyes hollow, its mouth wide with no sound. It held a key, her key, and pointed to the wall of her room, where a new door was now growing, wood forming from nothing, metal knob rusting. As it appeared, the house had followed her. It had moved in. She screamed, tried to run, grabbed her phone, but the screen was black, her legs heavy, her body slow. She turned and the figure stood inches away, its mouth opened, and this time it spoke. "You thought this was healing, you thought this was over, but you are not the only one who leaves doors open." Lights burst her windows, cracked, shadows swarmed the floor, rising like smoke. Then silence. She opened her eyes, and she was standing outside the original Airbnb. Again, suitcase in hand, car gone, no phone, no sun, only fog. Door creaked open by itself, inviting her back inside. The hallway waited unchanged, the stairs still groaning, the lights still flickering. She stepped in, not because she wanted to, but because she had nowhere else to go, and the door shut behind her. This time it locked. She turned around, and on the wall, written in deep red, were 5 words: "Welcome home, you never left." But Mia did not scream this time. She walked up the stairs slowly, the photo still in her hand, the air thick with memories. She reached the end of the hallway and found a new door waiting. No sign, no lock, just her reflection in its surface, and she opened it without fear. Inside, she found a single chair and the final version of herself already waiting. Not broken, not twisted, but whole. She sat across from her, and they stared at each other until the house exhaled and everything went still. The end.